the introduction. Hello and welcome, everyone. I usually say howdy and welcome, so I'll just do howdy and welcome. My name is Bill Ballo. I have been a paramedic now for 25 years and an EMS educator for about the past, I guess, almost 15. It'll be 15, I believe, coming up very soon here. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about Classroom Live, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that we did to sort of improve our connection with our students, who were at distance. Now, before the pandemic, when I would do these presentations, I actually wouldn't get a whole lot of people coming to the presentation. I'd get a lot of eye rolls, and I get a lot of, yeah, no, I'm never going to teach that way. And after the pandemic, all of a sudden it was like, oh, I need to hear this. So whether or not you before the pandemic you were on with this or you weren't, hey, welcome, it doesn't matter. What matters now is making sure that we can meet our students where they're at and help them in ways that maybe we didn't think of before. So a little background on me. I am from the great state of Florida, in case you couldn't tell with the lightning stuff and the state of Florida flag and stuff like that in the background here. So I was born and raised in Florida, but I have moved to Madison, Wisconsin. Yes, you can stop laughing now. I moved to Madison, Wisconsin about 9 years ago, and I haven't left because my feet are frozen to the ground. So guess I'm here. I love my new home, Madison, Wisconsin. They have been really fantastic to me, and all of the weird and crazy things that I was thinking about before I came to Madison, they just embraced. They loved it. They were like, hey, let's go for it. They gave me the freedom to really do the things that I had been trying to do for a very, very long time. So much love to Madison, Wisconsin. Much love to the Wolfpack Madison College, which is where I teach now. I have a bachelor's from the University of Florida in telecommunication and a master's from the University of South Florida in public health. I have no idea where I was going with that, but hey, we are where we are. All right, so I am going to open up a PowerPoint, and my students would probably try to kill me if they saw this. So if there's any of my students in here, I have to use it right now, okay? I have to use PowerPoint. I'm sorry, but I'm going to do it. All right, so here we go. So we're going to talk Classroom Live. We're going to talk a little bit about where we were, where we are, those kind of things. Let me open up my presentation here so that you're not looking at just my slides. All right, well, let's talk Classroom Live. And actually, I want to do one thing. I want to stop sharing my screen just for a second there, because I want to share screen rather than sharing just the program itself. That way, anything I bring up on the screen, you can see. All right, so everybody should be able to see my presentation. If you cannot, just throw it in the chat. Chat's over here to my right. I have Q&A over. I have 3 screens. Sorry, if you see me doing this, it's because I have 3 screens, not because I have my head is on some sort of weird swivel. So there I am, Bill Ballo, right there. You can contact me, wballo@madisoncollege.edu. If you have any questions, please feel free. You can also get me on the social media stuff. Don't groan. Yeah, it's TikTok. Don't groan. So it just is the way it is. So a little bit of alter ego there. But either way, feel free to contact me if you want to contact me. All right, so we're going to talk Classroom Live. Let me get on the right thing here. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to talk about is my dad. Honestly, my dad was a very, very, very big influence in my life, and he was an electrical engineer, and he never got a degree. Actually, he had basically went to a trade school and was a substation designer. For those of you that have been to Disney, my father designed a lot of the substations that are around that Kissimmee area that actually power Disney World. So if you like Disney World, thanks, Dad, appreciate it. So my dad was a big influence in my life, such a big influence in my life that he was actually my best man at my wedding, and he gave a speech. And in that speech, he talked about a lot of different things, but he talked about, and he mentioned in the speech a lot about certain words that I took out of it: love, connection, access, family, caring, and values. Now I'm going to talk about a few of these today. The ones that we're going to highlight is going to be connection, access, and values. And you go, wait, what do you mean he's talking about access? Well, it's a long story, okay, but we can talk about that at some point. So we're going to talk about connection, we're going to talk about access, we're going to talk about values. And when we think access, what I want you to think about is that bubble that we always talk about is equity and inclusion, right? So we're going to talk about a little bit how that has helped some of our students, okay, and what we've done. So the first one we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about connection. Now I'm going to move my video out of the way so that it's not in my face over here. So my apologies for just a second. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about connection. So what do my students say about going online? So I went to my students and I said, hey, I got this great idea. Let's do some online learning. Now, let me make sure I'm sharing my computer audio when I do this as well, because you know me, if you've ever taken one of my courses, there are times I forget to do that. So I did forget to do that. Look at that. So when I talk to my students about doing online, I said, hey, let's start talking about online. And I talked about this way back where I was working in Florida. Started talking about, well, what about some online stuff? What would y'all feel about that? And yeah, here's what they said.
You like that, Grumpy?
No, 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 hell no, 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 I refuse, no, no.
All right, so for those of you that are here and that are willing to do some chatting and some Q&A, why did they say that? Why did my students say that? Throw some answers in the chat. Why did they say that? Because that was that was the response. Not only was that the response of the students, but that was the response of the faculty and a lot of the administration as well. I wouldn't say all of the faculty. Not all of the faculty were like that. Fear of the unknown. Yes, fear of the unknown, most definitely. That was a big one. Oh. Prior bad experience. Absolutely. I took a class when I was doing my master's degree online. And the teacher had a PowerPoint, had voiceover PowerPoint, and was reading exactly what was on the PowerPoint. Now, it's one thing if you're adding to it, you're having some fun with it, you know, that kind of stuff. But it was just reading exactly what was on the PowerPoint. And I just kind of was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Hands-on learner. You're a hands-on learner. You know what? Actually, so am I. I'm not a gamer. And I'm not the kind of person that really is like awesomely into online. I did do my master's degree online. Now, granted, it was University of South Florida, so I had connection to it. It wasn't like completely online or anything like that. So no interaction there. Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, no interaction. You're right. Also, you assume they have decent Wi-Fi. Boy, that's you know what? I couldn't agree with you more there, Susan. I would then be making an assumption that they have good enough Wi-Fi or good enough, computers, whatever, to do what they needed to do. Totally. Yeah, totally agree. Now, one of the things that we had was we had our IT department that helped us out quite a bit with that, so that we now rent out laptops to all of our students, and we rent out Wi-Fi hotspots if they need it. Only that's an on as needed basis, but we absolutely we rent out laptops to them. Your chat's disabled. Okay, no problem. You can put it in the question and answer. I've got them both open over here to my right, so no problem whatsoever. I had the question and answer over here, but I was like, why don't I just put it over here? So, yeah. So yeah, all of those reasons, right? So one of the things that really makes Madison College shine is that we do have a really good connection with our students. Our instructors have a great connection with our students. We really feel that it's important to be connected with our students, and that our students be connected to each other as well. You know, it's one thing for me to sit here and tell you all about this. You can tell I like to interact with people. I like to talk to people. They don't like change. David, yes, that's true. That's very true. There were a lot of, I would say I saw that sometimes a little bit more with my faculty and my administration. The students were a little bit more open to change as long as it was done well and as long as I was with them in it, acted as a partner with them in it, rather than just, hey, we're going to change all of this and, so what, you have to deal with that. With the faculty, I had a lot of faculty tell me, when they saw what I was doing, and you'll see it here in a minute, they were like, nope, not doing that. I will never teach that way. And now post-pandemic, all of those faculty that said, no, 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 they're all like, okay, how do we do that? We need to talk about how we do that. And if there's anything that's good that's come out of a global pandemic where so many people have died, I hate to say it, that anything good has come out of that. But one of the things is that we have looked at technology differently. We've looked at a different way to utilize technology. Faculty are the hardest group to adjust to methods. Yeah, why is that? Does anybody, I'm assuming we have a bunch of faculty here today. Why do we feel like it's so hard to adjust to new methodology? Thoughts on that? We do not like change. It is true. We do not like change. Time crunch. Yes. Micromanagement. Ooh, micromanagement. So do you feel sometimes that you're being managed from above and being told like, you have to do it this way? So that has happened to me before. I will say at Madison College, and thank you so much, Madison College. I can't say enough about them. That did not happen with me at Madison College. I was really given freedom to do a lot of the things that I do. And a lot of people thought I was crazy, and that's okay. I'm cool with that. There have been pejoratives that have been used for me. One of the pejorative is, you're too creative, Bill. Cool. I like that. Another one was, you're too nice. Yep. Keep going, because I agree. And then another one of those was, you're a little too free spirited. Yep. Okay. I like you. I'm with you. If those are the insults that I'm getting, man, I am there. We've always done it this way. Oh, that's the worst. We've always done it that way. I absolutely hate that one. Yeah. Fear of change. And that goes on. I think that goes in with fear of change. Yeah. Curriculum not designed for online presentations. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're being able to manage hands-on now that we can control the classroom, see how students are following, easier for students to hide. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think in some cases, and I've talked to some of my instructors about this, and we'll talk a little bit about like student engagement and how I help to engage my students a little bit better. But we'll talk a little bit about that, but we'll also talk about, yeah, the students, sometimes they can hide, they don't turn their cameras on or whatever. Maybe we'll talk about that here in a second. Just let me do what works. Yeah, what worked last year may be outdated. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And sometimes, honestly, what we're doing now can be changed into what we want to do in the future. So what I started out doing was I started out putting all of this stuff together. So I said to my students, okay, you don't want online, fully online. Okay, got that. But let's go with, what if I said to you, I would be in the classroom, and if you wanted to be in the classroom, you could be in the classroom with me. Or if you wanted to join from home, you could join from home. Now, some people may go, yeah, we're doing that now. But this was 2015, right? And so a lot of it wasn't even really necessarily thought of. Like, okay, what? You know, when I said I want my students to be able to join from home and I want them to be able to join from the classroom. So I have a lot of students that say, I still want to be in the classroom. And I have a lot of students that say, I'd rather join from home. And I'm okay with either of those. And the way I started off with was I was using a microphone. So I found out very quickly, if I just used a webcam, boy, was that bad, right? The mic, every time I turn away from it, the microphone would have a hard time catching me. So I went out with an upgraded microphone, one that was omnidirectional, that would catch sort of everything, no matter which way I was facing. The next thing that I did was I wanted a camera in the room. So I brought in a webcam. I actually found this webcam in one of the drawers in the lab coordinator area. And so I grabbed that. I went to the lab coordinator and say, hey, can I use this? Lab coordinator said, yeah, sure. And I put it on a tripod. Now, I did duct tape it once to the laptop, but then eventually I went to tripod. So I put it on a tripod. I had it sitting in a chair because every time you'd move the tripod, it'd go, it would squeak. And so I put it in a chair, and I had a student that would move it because I don't like to stay still. You can tell this is just a little bit of coffee this morning. This is me, y'all. So I'm always trying to move around, and I'm always trying to talk to my students and all that. And, I also wanted them to see the student that was talking, because that's another one, right? It's like, your instructor, you're standing up there, you go, the question was, it didn't work for me, right? So I wanted them to be able to see. And then I am a writer on the whiteboard, and I love to write on the whiteboard. And so I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to connect my iPad to a whiteboard application? And this is kind of before I started using Microsoft Whiteboard. And I was like, all right, I got to hook it up through an Apple TV, and then I'm going to screen to there. And I had wires running everywhere, and I had all these coverings over everything. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And so I met with the person who is now my manager. Shout out to Carly Brady, one of my favorite people in the entire world. Love working with Carly. And Carly met with me and some of our colleagues in the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, which is eventually where I went into. Some of our CETO colleagues, they also met, and they listened to my crazy presentation, and they went, we have some ideas. And they kind of helped to facilitate what then became what you will see here in a second. We went from all of that crazy wiring and just ridiculousness and insanity over to, and I got to hit the play button here. Yeah, there we go. Over to this. Okay, you're like, whoa, man, craziness. So on the left-hand side, and I should say teacher's left, as we're looking at it, right-hand side. On this right-hand side right here, this is a fully writable touchscreen. It's 70 inches, and it is full touchscreen. Over here, this is not full touchscreen. This is my people screen. So here's my content screen. Here's my people screen. And then eventually what I added to this as well was another 27-inch touchscreen that was back at my instructor station. On the top up here, was, this is a quad cam. So there's 4 cameras actually inside that. And those 4 cameras can catch, let me just make sure, close this up. Those 4 cameras could catch 82 degrees, and they were able to see really anywhere in the room. So while I was walking back and forth, no problem, they could see me. Now, if I came and I stood out here sort of in the front, they were seeing the back of my head. And so I really didn't like that too much. And so eventually what we did was we moved this quad cam over to beside, right, to the side, and we kind of split it up so that you could see me a little bit better. So let me show you here. What I've got is, oops, I didn't advance. This is my original promo video on Classroom Live, me trying to sell this to my faculty and going, you can do this. Trust me, you can do this. It's only about 2 minutes long, but you'll see. Hey, Madison College faculty, what I'm going to show you today, I am going to show you what a Classroom Live classroom looks like and some of the capabilities of that classroom, because I want you to be interested in it. I want you to want to use it. So come on into the class and let's see what the Classroom Live class looks like. So the first thing you notice with Classroom Live, it's a little bit different than WebEx style classes in that we actually do have a classroom that our students are in. And all of our students are right here in the classroom, along with some of the students that are watching from home. So these students that are watching from home, I can see all of them there at the bottom. You guys can wave and say hello. There, all right? So I have the ability to have not only the students in the classroom, but then interactivity with the students that are at home. I have cameras on top of my monitors here that actually follow me throughout the room. They'll cue in on any of my students when they start to talk. And so the people at home and the people in the classroom can have a very similar experience. I can do group work. I can show you how to do that. I can do PowerPoint. You can see that I have a PowerPoint up. I have 2 touch screens. Let me show you my touch screens because I think they're the coolest part. So I have 2 touch screens, And on this nice big touch screen here, I can draw. So I can bring up my drawing pad and I can draw here on my touch screen. I don't want to mess up anything that I was already working on tonight. And I can also draw on my touch screen that's over here too. And in each of the classroom live rooms that we're developing, each of them is going to have this. They're going to have this writable screen here and a writable screen there. So this allows my students to have a very similar experience to what my students in the classroom are getting. And I can show you how to do it. All you have to do is make sure that you come to one of my trainings. I'll show you exactly how it's done, and I'll show you some other cool tricks as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing you at the trainings. We'll see you soon. All right, so I'm sure you can tell in the early days there was a lot of sort of, I had to do quite a bit of salesmanship to kind of get people to believe in it. And that was pre-pandemic. Now that class that you saw right there, okay, that class right there, they were my pandemic class. So in March of 2020, when we all had to, basically go online, what happened was I said to those students that were in the classroom, okay, you can't come in the classroom, you have to join from WebEx. And that was it. That was it. That was our transition to pandemic life. Besides obviously our skill sessions and stuff like that. And we started working a little bit more on that, on how to, show some skills from home so that we could limit the amount of time that we were in the lab, right? So we could limit that time. We also originally had a volunteer service that said, hey, we want to take paramedic with you, but it's a 2-hour drive in, a 2-hour drive out for a 4-hour class. That's 8 hours long. I don't know if we can do that. And they would lose essentially all of that time through their volunteer service. And so what we did was we connected with them at the station. And so then they were all sitting at the station and they were joining us, in the classroom. So we had the 2 classrooms connected, which was really nice. So what we've moved to now, and what I call phase 2, because we're actually into phase 3 already, that what you saw together, that was our phase 1 and our pilot. Our pilot and our phase 1 was what you saw together. Phase 2, we started separating these out. So what we did was we put this touchscreen on the wall, and this is on an ADA compliant mount. So you can pull this mount down and up for different heights. So we put that on the front along with our quad cam, and the quad cam really looks at the students. So when the students talk, this quad cam right here cues in on them. Now, the nice thing about it is, if you've ever been in one of those systems where like the camera moves, and it starts to look at you like zzz, and it looks at you, you go. And that's what happened when I first was testing cameras, is my students went, that camera's looking at me. It's really weird. So I didn't want that. So the nice thing about the quad cam here is that they don't see it move. It's all done with software rather than hardware. And then you don't also have the problem of breaking down hardware. Now, the camera in the back that cues in a little bit more on me as the instructor up in the front, you can kind of see me taking the picture there. That right there, that does move, but so slightly that you really can't even see it move. And so my students didn't see any cameras move, which was really helpful. And then this is now the people screen, which is in the back of the room, so that I'm basically looking through the room. Now in our phase 3 room, all we did was move the people screen to 90 degrees away. So it's either to our left or to our right. And the quad cam is then over the people screen. And we kind of got rid of this camera here in the back, because what we found was we were having actually a lot of breakdown where the camera wouldn't move or something like that. Whereas with the quad cam, we really didn't have those issues. The other things we noticed about this camera, it's a P90 camera, is we noticed that it had trouble seeing my face through the mask. So when I was wearing a mask in class, it had a tough time seeing my face through the mask. Whereas this quad cam, no problem. It was able to find me without any problems. So that was kind of where we went. We sort of switched over to that. And what did my students say? Well, my students loved it actually, because they had, when we started back in we started the pilot program for this back in 2015, and then 2018 was our sort of like real let's dig in pilot. When we did that, the students were like, wait, okay, so I can join from home and I can have a similar experience. I can, ask questions and all of that, and hear you and see you and ask and talk back and forth, and no problem there, right? And I was like, yeah, we can do that. It was really great for them. I had one student that worked at the airport, which is right next to our campus. And when he needed to work at the airport, that night he would come into class. But then, so it was Monday, Wednesday nights. And on Wednesdays, when he wasn't working at the airport, he would just stay home and essentially view from home. Now, I did ask my students to put their cameras on. You can see in my training here, I have some people that do have their cameras off, but I asked my students to put their cameras on because I wanted that interactivity between us. Now, of course, there are some reasons why cameras need to be off or something like that, and that was okay, but I took that as sort of a one-on-one basis and spoke to that student individually. The general idea was cameras need to be on. And luckily we didn't have anyone above us that was saying, no, you can't do that or whatever. We were allowed as instructors to sort of make that rule in the class. And that's what I did. I said, listen, I need cameras to be on. I need to be able to see you. And it made for really great interactivity. Of course, there were nights, I had one student who was like right up against the camera watching and eating a bowl of Cheerios. And I was like, you know what? You can turn your camera off for now. That's okay. That's all right. You can do that. And then turn your camera back on when you're done with the Cheerios. So a lot of people ask me, you talked about like you did some skills demonstration. I did some skills demonstration. Now, we still had skills labs. We still had our students come to campus, and they came in on Saturday. Every other Saturday, we would do a skills lab, whereas our evening class was 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Monday and Wednesday nights. So for skills lab, they were still required to come in, but we did demonstrate some skills utilizing this technology. I'm going to show you that. It's an 8-minute video. I'm going to shorten it just a little bit so that you're seeing like really the main skills stuff. And we work together with the students on how to understand, how to switch a camera, those kind of things. And here we go. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit.
We'll go with you first.
So these are actually some of my other instructors who helped me out with this.
And I'm going to grab my VivaTrack here. And when I load it, I just want to go straight down.
Okay, so actually, remember we talked about doing a 90 degrees, so try that.
Oh, yeah.
See if that works better for you.
Sure, yep. So turn it 90 degrees like that. Is that right, Bill?
That's right. Yep, you got it.
All right.
And so I had them, do a couple of things that needed some assistance with. Now, what I did this for my very first presentation on this was back in like 2019. And I actually had the instructor join me from the Classroom Live room. And I was in Denver doing this for the Online Learning Consortium. And we were working together on this. And the poor instructors in there that weren't EMS instructors were like, oh, I got to watch this. Oh,
Can you see that?
Here we go. Yep, I can see you.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open the mouth. Go ahead and we're going to enter.
So of course you see how I could interact with that student.
Go ahead and just kind of.
And I could say, hey, you know what? Nope.
Good.
Hey, no, don't pull the vallecula. There you go. No, don't pull the epiglottis. Go into the vallecula. There you go.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to.
That one's going to tear in
advance
the vocal cords there.
bougie.
Blow it. All right.
So it's in the trachea, past the vocal cords.
So now, did this replace skills? No, absolutely not. I did not replace a skills lab, but this cut down our skills lab time because we could practice things at distance. Okay. Right. So we could practice from other locations, or I could just do demonstrations. So I could do this as a demonstration. All right. This is what you're going to see when you come into lab. Understand that this is the way that it's going to work. These are going to be my expectations. So I didn't have to take up all of that lab time. We could cut down and make that lab time really, really specific. Okay. All right. So let's move on here. Okay. Questions. Does anybody have any questions? I'll pause for questions before we start talking about values. I love questions. And I'm seeing some names in here that I may be familiar with. And I'm certainly hoping that I am seeing some people that I have known, either worked with previously or have met at, maybe conferences or something like that. I'm seeing some very familiar names in here, and I just want to say hello. It's good to see you again. So this is what I've been doing. Technology is both a blessing and a curse. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah. And this is from a man who has like three monitors set up, and I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras set up in my home office here. So I agree, can be a blessing and a curse. How has this impacted your pass rate? So actually, interestingly enough, my pass rate went up. My pass rate went up. And one of the reasons my pass rate went up is because my absence rate went down, through the floor down. Okay. My absence rate, you'd have every once in a while, you'd have a student sick or something like that. I think that's the person I was referring to there. David, thank you very much. I appreciate that. My pass rate went up because my absence rate went down. You have students that would have, oh, I got something wrong with my car, or I have my kid or something like that's going on or whatever. I'm going to get into that here in a second, because that's values, and I want to talk about that. I've had those people that they got sick, they had the flu, and so what did they do? They came into class and they gave the flu to the rest of us. So that really helped. Retention rate. My retention rate has always been very, very good. My pass rates have always been excellent, but my retention rate was even better. I had a student who had said to me, without this technology, I absolutely would not have been able to continue in the program. And I had another student that said I would not have been able to start the program if it had not been for this technology. Now, it's not all roses, don't get me wrong. There are always little things that go wrong. And I had one student that, even though we had this technology, she still had a lot of struggles and was unable to continue in the class. She did eventually come back and do the class at a time that was better for her. And that was great. That was wonderful. And that was something that we helped her out with. So obviously it's not all perfect. It's not. And the thing about it too, you can see at the beginning here, I was like, oh, I didn't share my audio. I forgot what it was. Little things happen, but I take it in stride. I try not to get too crazy about it. I try not to get too upset about it. I try to take it in stride as much as possible. And that's also what I teach my instructors. Not only do I teach them obviously how to use the technology, but let's be really awesome with the technology too. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about values. Thank you all so much for the questions. I really do appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about values. This is probably one of my absolute favorite pictures, gets me every time. This is one of our paramedic students. This is towards the end of paramedic school. We are almost completely done with paramedic school in this picture. Her son she was pregnant with her son when she decided that she wanted to do paramedic school. She was really, really excited. She was a single mom and was unable to get childcare for that night, right? For the Monday, Wednesday nights, because she also lived 2 hours away. And so the drive in was 2 hours, the drive out was 2 hours, and a 4-hour class. So that's an 8-hour day. She was unable to get childcare. Her son was 3 months old when we started the program. And you can see him here at the end of the program. He's about 18 months old. And I did get her permission to use this picture. So just so you know, I got her permission to use this picture. I absolutely love this one because I really think he needs to be an honorary paramedic, because he was there every single night. Every single night she was there with her camera on. She was talking to us. She was interacting with us. And she was taking care of her son at the same time. Now, on the skills days, those are on the weekends. So she was able to actually, have someone take her son. So no problem there. She was able to do that. But in those evenings, she wasn't able to do that. And she actually had told me there is absolutely no way I could have done this class if it hadn't have been in this format, if you hadn't have done it in this format. And I do have students in the classroom as well. So that's, you have students that say, I really don't like this idea of joining from distance. I want to be in the classroom. Okay, no problem. Come on in, right? We're in the classroom. So you can absolutely do that, right? But yeah, so, and she first time pass on her national registry and is a working paramedic right now, doing a great job. So very, very happy, very proud, obviously, of that. The other value is that during, it was pre-pandemic, but it was during the pilot program. My father had actually, he was in Florida. He had fallen and broken his hip. And so I had to go down, 85-year-old man falls and breaks his hip. I had to go down to Florida and I had to help out. My sister was down there, but I had to go down there and I had to basically live in Florida for about 2 months to help out with my dad. My students were really mortified because they thought, we're going to lose you. We don't want you to go. And, I said, listen, I'm not gonna, okay, I'm going to be with you. And so what I did was I taught from Florida back to my room. So my students were still able to come into the room and they were still able to watch from home. I taught from Florida back to my room and to everyone else. We continued the class. I continued with the class. I had thought about getting another instructor, but they were attached to me. They liked me. They loved me. I love them too. And they said, we really want you. And so what an awesome feeling. So I said, absolutely, of course. That was the class that because of this, it was actually one of the reasons that they voted for me for the EMS Instructor of the Year for the state of Wisconsin, which I was awarded in 2019. And I thank them every day for that, because without them, that would have never happened. Come the pandemic, March of 2020, I was asked to leave EMS and to come into our Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning and basically teach other instructors how to do what I had been doing in the classroom, not only with Classroom Live, but also just anything else, how to teach using WebEx, how to teach using Microsoft Teams. We didn't use Zoom at Madison College, but I had been using Zoom. I had been using Blue Jeans. I had been using all of those formats. And so I came in and in that first 2 weeks, spent the vast majority of my time helping those instructors switch over to that. Loved every minute of it, still love every minute of it. And I'm now moved on to our strategic academic initiatives department. And we're working on whatever is new. So we've got virtual reality, we've got Classroom Live that's still going. We went from 2 rooms, well, 1 room in our pilot program, Classroom Live, and then we went to 2 rooms initially, and they were both in our Protective Services Center. And then it has now exploded throughout the college. I would have never imagined this, to about 45 rooms that we have at, is it that many? Is it that many? Oh, wow. Okay. That was in my notes and I'm like, wait, what? So we have a lot of classrooms. I do the trainings for faculty still really enjoy doing it. And, I still credit my family and my dad and my students with all of the success that we have seen with Classroom Live, not to mention the administrators that were behind me on all of this, Carly Brady being number one, but the rest of the administrators that were behind me, my friend Alan Natachute designed these slides for me because I'm horrible with PowerPoint. I don't use it. I really don't. But there I am again. You can contact me, feel free to. And if you want to see some of the cool stuff, the TikTok Virtual Reality Medic YouTube channel, I have some stuff on there regarding Classroom Live. And, we can always talk about that. And if you have any questions, I love answering questions. There's my email right there, wballo@madisoncollege.edu. Feel free, shoot me any questions. I'm more than happy to help you out if you have some ideas, some thoughts, hey, how do I do this? I can definitely help you. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to look more to Q&A now, just to make sure that, if there's anybody that has Q&A, I'm more than happy to answer questions. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to kind of pull my Q&A into this over here. There we go. All right. Was finding the funding for the technology hard to attain administrative support of the cost? Boy, that is a great question. Once again, I will give a shout out to my manager now, my colleague, Carly Brady. She was so good at this. And my dean at the time, she is now one of our vice presidents, Shauna Carter, just amazing at finding funding for this and supporting me in all of the crazy Bill Ballo stuff that I was doing. They were magic in finding funding for it. They were just magic at it. What you really need to find is those people that just know the right pathways to go. When I said, listen, this is going to make a difference for our students, the initial thought was kind of, and I was even told when I was presenting this to administration the first time, that, hey, be careful talking about how you taught from Florida. I don't know that they'll really approve of that. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. That was pre-pandemic. Post-pandemic, now it's like, oh, yeah, this is great. Now, obviously there are some issues with teaching from other states. We're still not like, hey, we'll hire anybody from any other state and you can teach from wherever. We still want you to be there and be able to be present with your students if necessary. But, when those things come up where you like I had, you have to go to another state, or I had students that, I had one student join from a parade. That's probably my favorite one. He was in the back of the engine, and he was showing us the parade, it was fun. So he joined from a parade. He eventually, I told him, hey, when the parade's over, come on in. And I've had students join from other states. I've had students where they were like, hey, I'm on vacation, and is it okay to take a vacation? Yeah, it's okay to take a vacation. Just make sure you're there for the skills labs. But yeah, absolutely. And you can join from where you're at. So let's look at some of the other questions here. Great question. So flexible for everyone. Yeah, it really was. The flexibility, the ability for my students to, do what they needed to do, and take care of the people they needed to take care of while being part of my class. Absolutely. What software platform are you using for classes? Great question. So we use both Microsoft Teams and WebEx. So WebEx works really great with the in-class hardware. And so does Microsoft Teams. We eventually worked that for those of you that are tech services people. It's through CVI. There was a connection with Microsoft Teams. So we actually use both of those. We have not tried it with Zoom, but I'll be honest with you, I don't really necessarily see a reason it wouldn't work with Zoom. I could give that a shot. The one that it really didn't work with is a Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. That didn't work. Now, that could be because we're using an older Ultra or something. I don't know, but it didn't really work that great with that. But otherwise, yeah, we used WebEx and Microsoft Teams. Those are our main ones. It started off with WebEx. So I'd be interested in what equipment you have for your home classroom. Oh, awesome. Yeah. So the camera that you're seeing right here, okay, that is a Logitech C922. Definitely one of my favorites, C920, C922. This right here, here's my microphone. Love my microphone. This is a Yeti Blue Nano. So this one was $100. The camera was $80 when I bought it. Actually, they're cheaper now. I bought that one in Denver 5 years ago, I think. So that one, so the C922. I also have a Cisco WebEx desk camera, which is over here to my right, that I do like. That one I got directly from Cisco. So here's my Cisco WebEx desk camera. Hey. So yeah, my Cisco WebEx desk camera. So there's that. And then of course I have my integrated camera as well. That is on my my laptop. I have covers on all of these. So there's my integrated camera. You can see that one's not the best. And then I also do some camera from, which I don't have hooked up right now. I do camera from my Oculus headset when I do virtual reality. And I also do a camera from my phone. I use my phone as a dock cam as well. And then I have another dock cam sitting back there that's in the storage here. and it's a Hovercam Solo Spark, which I think is a really great camera as well. But the main thing is get yourself a good camera, get yourself a good high quality microphone. Those are the two big ones. Now my microphone is also on a boom, just because my desk is like, wah! So I didn't want it also sitting there on the desk. And then for my monitor, I'm using a Samsung TV, 32-inch TV. It's awesome. But over here to my left, I have a gaming monitor. And actually, you know what? If I just switch over to my Cisco desk camera here, my gaming monitor is this one here. It's my gaming monitor. And that one is really, this is a really high quality monitor. But I like that format there. So, and then computer wise, right now I'm operating on an Alienware because I do virtual reality, but really the computer, as long as you've got enough ports, to get the cameras, all hooked up, you'll be fine. Nice, thanks. Oh, you're welcome. You're very, very welcome. Other questions? I'll talk a little bit about some of the ways I engage my students if we don't have any other questions. So one of the things that I've been known for, even previous to teaching in Classroom Live format, or what we call online live. Online live is I'm at home, you're at home, that's online live. Classroom Live is I'm in the classroom with the cameras. You can be at home or you can be in the classroom. That's Classroom Live. And we coined that phrase off of Facebook Live. So sorry, Facebook Live. We didn't really steal, but we coined it off of that. So Classroom Live is that. So how do I engage my students? So, well, first of all, I don't use a lot of PowerPoint. I do a lot of writing and drawing. So they're hearing direct from me and I'm doing a lot of writing and drawing. And they like that. I use my iPad and I use Microsoft Whiteboard. So I have Microsoft Whiteboard there, Microsoft Whiteboard on my iPad, and I'm drawing and they're seeing directly from Microsoft Whiteboard. That is awesome because I do a lot of drawings, although they're all horrible. I look like it's just off. My drawings are terrible. But I'll do a lot of that. So I'll do that with my classes. The other thing is that I use a lot of multimedia. So I'll use some YouTube stuff here and there, connecting into the classroom. But then, like, I've been known for a very, very long time for my call outs, right? And so I do call outs to students. Now, what I did when we were live is I had a little ball that I would take and I would throw it to a student, and they, whoever caught it answered the question. Now, some of them would go, and they try not to, but it was like whoever it dropped closest to. So you're not getting out of it. So they would catch the ball. So I do a virtual catch the ball. I'm like, okay, I'm throwing the ball to Dawn, and and then Dawn would go, oh, okay, Bill, yeah. So I would ask questions based on what I was just talking about. So I'd be sitting there, drawing and writing and talking and stuff like that. And I'd say to my students, okay, so I just mentioned in talking about pneumonia that pneumonia is mostly a what type of, and then I go, okay, I'm throwing the ball to James. All right, James. And James would have to then answer the question. So I did a lot of those shout outs. So my students were always ready. They were always like at the ready. Some of them were even started taking notes. They're like, I never took notes for any class, Bill. But then you started doing the shout out thing and I started taking notes. So I would do that. Now, there were times where my student wouldn't respond or whatever. I didn't automatically assume they weren't paying attention. I just thought, okay, maybe something's going on, and I would eventually come back to them and throw that shout out. What would happen on the back end, which was kind of fun, is the other students would be texting that student like, hey, he just did a shout out to you. You better, and to make sure that that student was paying attention. I encourage using these in my classroom. I did. I had my students come in and I said, hey, you can use your phone, you can use your laptop, you can use whatever, because I'd have them look stuff up. And of course, we would do Mentimeter, stuff like that, where they would have to, they'd have to, give some feedback. We also use Kahoot a lot. used Kahoot a lot, and it became really competitive for my students. They would log in on their, they'd be like, I'm going to win today, right? So that was really awesome. So it kind of kept them engaged as well. And at pretty much every class, I was doing stuff like that. And so it was kind of keeping the students really on their toes. So I really enjoyed that kind of stuff. Would you be willing to share your equipment list as far as AV, interactive TVs, monitors, your interactive classes, what the estimated cost to purchase and operate, maybe as a follow-up? Yes, absolutely. Are you talking about the stuff in classroom or just what I'm using here at home? Now, I purchased all of the stuff that you see or that you saw just a minute ago. I bought that on my own. I made it as this is my home office because I am working most of the time now from home. And so I did a lot of that, here in the, and bought it myself. Okay. So I did a lot of that. I would be more than happy to, help people, like what cameras, what are you using there, Bill? More than happy to help with that. And Maddie, feel free, contact me, and I'll write my, well, I don't want to write it in the chat, but you saw there, wballo@madisoncollege.edu. This obviously will be recorded as well, so you're happy. And please don't think that I am endorsing any product. I don't get kickbacks or anything like that. I'm not endorsing products. All I'm saying is this is what worked for me. Okay, this is what worked for me, and this is what I used. I'm not in any way, shape, or form endorsing any products whatsoever. The only potential conflict of interest I would even have, we haven't even talked about virtual reality. If you want to talk about virtual reality, contact me. Is the virtual reality program that I use. I also work for that company as a senior experience designer. So, but that's not, I did a previous webinar on that, and I mentioned that in that webinar. So can you use quizzing software? Yeah, you can. And the great thing is that all I'm doing really is sharing my screen, and then my students, they can log in either from home, or if they're using their phone, they can log in from their phone. They can log in from their laptop, whatever it is, and they can log in either just to that program. So if you have a specific program and they just log into that program, they can do that, and then they can join in that way as well. Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I had a tough time with was like video proctoring. Yeah, that just didn't work that great, because what the software really relies on is someone talking to make them the prominent person in the screen. And so I was trying to look at all these little screens. So I kind of gave up on video proctoring and just said to my students, hey, when we have a test or something like that, you need to come into the classroom. For my quizzes, I encouraged my students to look up everything in the book. I really did. And because I made my quizzes so much that it was very hard for them to look up the answer in the book. Like, you can look up like, okay, what's the bone of the upper arm? Okay, I can look that up. That's easy. But when it was like, okay, you have a congestive heart failure patient, and this is going on, and what medication would you give and why? Ooh, yeah, that was really hard to like look up in the book. So Kahoot is crazy. They get so competitive. Yes, they do. They do get so competitive. It's fun. I mean, we have a great time with it. So classroom specific. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be more than happy to share that information with you. Sure. How did you get formative and summative exams? Did all students need to be in the class? So yeah, when it came to formative, talking mostly quizzes, those kind of things, that was more done at distance. Now, one of the things that we did have the students do when we were talking summative exams is we had some students that were very far up north, 2 hours north of us. And so we had them come into our northern campus. And then we had a proctor that was there at the northern campus, and they'd go into that room, and then they'd be with that proctor in that room. So we had live proctoring there, and we just basically had a proctor that would sit in the room with them to make sure that there was no nefariousness going on. But I also, I don't want to talk about this like crazy stuff I did, but I started doing some really crazy stuff where people were like, you're doing what? I did collaborative testing where I actually had like 3 students together taking a test together. They hated me. Because 2 students, one person can convince another person to believe something. But when you had three, like it was hard for one person to convince both, right? And they would collaboratively test. They had their own tests that they were doing, but they'd go through the questions together. They would work together on the test, and they really hated. Now their test scores were actually pretty good, and some of the students were like, I really learned something by learning the way that another person tests. I didn't know I was going to learn something while I was taking a test. That was awesome. That was totally awesome. And again, you'd say, well, yeah, but Bill, they're not going to allow them to do that on the National Registry. No, but you learn by looking at other people and learning the way that other people test. And so you have to learn within that environment. And think about it. We're EMS professionals. Have you ever run a call by yourself? Well, okay, don't say, yeah, I pulled up on this one call. No. But I mean, like you're working on an ambulance, or you're working on, in a fire department or something like that. You go out on calls together. And so what do? You got to talk together. So it also taught my students that ability to kind of work as a team. That's crazy Bill stuff. If you want to learn more about that, just contact me. I'll talk about it. Do you use a lapel mic in Classroom Live? No, the microphones are in the ceiling above me. And so they can hear me throughout. There's no lapel mic, and there's no little clicker thing to make the cameras follow me. It just does it automatically. I forgot to mention the microphones are in the ceiling. Yep, hanging down from the ceiling. That's a great question. Great question. Makes you a better critical thinker. Totally. Completely agree. And it also teaches you to work with people that, you may completely disagree with someone, and you have to, that was one of the things they really hated, because they were like, when I take my own test, I can just sit there and I can do my own test. Okay. But when I have other people around me, now I have to talk to them. And you were responsible. This was the other thing. You were responsible for your own answer. You didn't have to come to the same answer, right? So if you and I disagreed on something and I said, you know what, I'm going to answer A, you answer B, go ahead. We just disagree, right? Then you'd find out who was right in the end. And boy, it was crazy. Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. A lot of fun. The students really appreciated it. They, admin looked at me kind of funny in the beginning, like even at Madison College, my program director at the time, shout out to Patrick Anderson, but my program director at the time went, yeah, I'm not so sure I agree with that, but you know what? It's your class, go for it. Let's see how you do. And in the end, it was like, well, I guess we can't really tell Bill to stop doing what he's doing, because like we're doing great. Like the students are doing fantastic, and they're doing great on the NREMT, and they're, and then they go out in the real world and they know how to work with each other. And, even the feedback that we were getting from the services was like, keep this up. We really like what's coming out. So I was like, great, let's keep that going. Again, not all perfect. Collaborative accountability assessment. It is powerful. Yes, it is very, very powerful. Very powerful. Teaches you how to be part of a team. And that's something that is hard to teach. It is hard to teach, to teach someone, hey, you need to be part of this team. And that's not easy to teach. Not easy to teach at all. So we are coming to the end of time here. So I just want to say, listen, thank you all so much for joining today. I really appreciate it. For those of you that I know, it was great seeing you again, or at least seeing you there. Contact me. Feel free to contact me, reach out and say hi. Even if you just want to say hi. How you doing, Bill? Boy, I really enjoyed your presentation. Or boy, that presentation was terrible, man. You got to work on that. So always happy to see anybody. Please, by all means, reach out. I think that's pretty much it. Rio, are we at the end here?
Yes, we are.
Awesome.
But we've got a lot of great questions today. I'm really excited that everybody was very into participating. That's awesome. So thank you so much, Bill, for your presentation. Everybody, thank you so much for coming in today. And I put the link in the chat to obtain the CEU. But don't worry, if you missed that, I'll make sure it goes out in tomorrow's follow-up email. And I will also make sure I include Bill's contact information in the follow-up email as well. So I think that's everything.
One last comment that I saw come in.
Oh yeah, sure.
Susan says, all about what works for the students. I'm stealing this, steal away. a friend of mine, Alan Natachu, shout out to him as well. He said he was doing this thing called teaching out loud. I'm with you, teaching out loud. I want everybody to go for it. Go for it. And if you need any help, let me know.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. And everybody have a great rest of your day.
Great to see everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye now.